Hello there, this is Ray here with Easy Simple Mechanic, and today's episode we're going to try and get the radiator in, condenser, and all the stuff in the front in. If we get time, we'll go ahead and try and get that engine cleaned up some, get some of that mud and other stuff off of there, kind of make it look nice. So I hope you enjoy the episode. Okay, so we're back here with this Raptor rebuild, and just want to give an update on where we are. So I'm going to show you really what we've done and where we are right now. So I don't know exactly where we left off, but we'll go ahead and show you here what we've done. Okay, as you can see, we've got the radiator, the condenser, the transmission cooler all hooked up. We cleaned up the tray for the battery here, and we got the battery in. We cleaned up, some of the engine compartment. We also cleaned up the air box and got it hooked back up. And so these are actually pretty easy to install. All of this stuff, we have one bolt here and here, so there's two bolts there, and this whole piece, remember we took it off together, so we went ahead and cleaned it up inside, got our filter clean. The battery, the same thing. The battery tray has two bolts in the bottom of the tray, and then you have this bolt here. The one thing to keep in mind here is to be sure to install this tray, because it has the washer fluid here, container here, and you need to put that in before you hook up this hose. Now, it is easier to, before you hook up the hose or before you install the battery tray, to go ahead and install this whole unit as a unit, which is the transmission cooler, the condenser, and the radiator. And it's easier to leave this header piece off. Here it has two bolts in front and one bolt on top on both sides. It's easier to go ahead and leave that off, and then set your radiator with the whole unit up there. I held this harness, as you saw before. I had kept this harness, electrical harness and everything, bungeed back till we could get the radiator set up there. So we set it up there, and we went ahead and hooked up the power steering lines. They go right up in here, and as you can see, with this header installed, it's hard to get to. So set that up there, go ahead and hook it up, because otherwise it's going to be hard to do with the header on. I went ahead and hooked that up. I went ahead and got the lower radiator hose. As you can see, it is back here. You can see there's a little clip right, let's see if I can point to right there, so you can put the little clip on the hose and then make sure you slip it in there. It's easier with the stuff kind of loose, where you can move it to where you need it. Go ahead and slip that hose on there as well, and then you can go ahead and this radiator hose, the top radiator hose here, comes up here. You can kind of get that. There's some what else is on here? Oh yeah, so there's a little ground strap. Don't forget it. It goes right here. You can see it. It's right behind this fender support right here. All of that stuff is easier to hook up before you get the radiator and stuff in there. Go ahead and get your lines routed for your AC and get those hooked up. So you kind of get pretty much everything lined up and hooked up, and then you go ahead and you bring this header piece in. And what I did is I went ahead and I put the two top bolts, which means is there's these little bushings right up here that the radiator kind of sets into this header. So what I did is I went ahead and I tilted that header in such a way that I got these two started, this top one and this top one. They're really long bolts. They're probably this long. So just go ahead and get them started, and then push the bottom piece of the header over against the radiator support. And then what I did is I took and I lifted from the top radiator where the hose hooks up, I lifted it up so that I could slide the header piece underneath and get those the bushing to drop down in there. I did that, and then I came on this side and I lifted over here on this side, I lifted it up and I pushed that other piece and let the radiator go down and into its slot. Once you get that done, then you can just go ahead and push the top part of the radiator back in against the header piece, and there's two bolts. There's one right behind here, and there's the other one, and I might be able to show it to you. It is right, you can see it right there. So you can see that right there, you can put that header piece, there's the bolt. And so once you get those two in, you can tighten those up, and that'll hold the radiator and everything to this header piece. Then you can come in here and you can put the rest of your bolts in on the header piece down here. And then I had to put these because these were missing. So I added a couple of bolts that were missing. They're a little different. So then you can start hooking up everything. I went ahead and put the air box in, plugged in my, hooked up my reservoir for my power steering fluid. And this one here has a, when you bring the wires over, once you get this radiator in, you can bring this harness back over here and it brings everything back towards the radiator. And there's 4 bolts. If you remember, we took those off. There's 4 bolts, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So there's 4 bolts here. I guess I can show you those a little better right there. So you just put these 4 bolts in right here, and this will get this back over here. And then I kept this harness that goes on the front here. I had it off and sitting up here so I could get to those bolts. Once I got those bolts in there, I went ahead and put my harness back down. And then this harness, it has a little clip right under there that goes on top of the bolt that holds the power steering fluid container. So once I got that all hooked up, you know, then I could set this harness on it and it clips right in there. I also went ahead and I put my radiator hose on the clamp that's over here, and I went ahead and I left this piece loose so that I could get the battery box in. And then I went ahead and I connected my ground straps here that are from the wiring harness. I connected those, and then there was this extra ground wire that went to that, I think that alarm system, that aftermarket alarm system they installed. And so we did that. Once I got my battery box in, there is some things that connect here. There's a clip that holds part of the wiring harness there. And I went ahead and I hooked up these lines that go to the windshield washer fluid. They go over the top of the windshield washer fluid box, and they come down and they hook in both sides here. And then this comes off your wiring harness, which clips in here. and then with your battery box in, it snaps there, and it comes in and plugs into your your windshield washer fluid motor. So that's in place now. Got that. And then once we get that in there, we went ahead and installed the radiator hose, the top radiator hose. So we got that, and we went ahead and remounted this aftermarket alarm. I don't know if I'm going to keep it or not, but for the time being, I went ahead and hooked it up. If I can get it to work, I might keep it. If not, we'll just rip it out. But I went ahead and mounted that. And as you can see, I've also plugged in the airbag sensors. So there's one there. That one has a little clip that mounts on the header right here. Plug that in. I went ahead and I did the same thing on this side, and then brought all these wires in for this this relay, for this alarm relay and whatever. What I don't have is horns. I'm gonna have to get me some horns. I guess they plug in here because I'm gonna need it to pass the safety inspection, but those horns were ripped off, so I don't know where they went. So yeah, we've got our AC lines in and tightened down, and then we went ahead and put some antifreeze in there. We bought some of this, let me show you, this orange is what it takes. This is the antifreeze that this truck takes. I went ahead and bought the orange concentrate. I didn't know how much to get. I got 3 gallons of the concentrate because I read somewhere on YouTube or saw it that it was like 6 gallons. Actually, it didn't take that much. So I had to take one of those gallons back, and I actually have about, once it's pre-mixed, I got about 2 gallons left. So actually I only needed about 1.5 gallons of the concentrate because I changed the fluid that was inside the overflow box here. If I hadn't have changed that, I could have gotten by with 1 gallon of the concentrate, which really makes 2 gallons of antifreeze. But in reality, it took like 2.5 gallons of antifreeze is what it took of that orange stuff. Now I don't know. I don't know if the block was completely drained. I tried to drain as much as I could out of the block, so it might still have some of the old stuff. So I think if you bought probably 2 of those concentrate gallons and mix them half and half with distilled water, that works. Or you can buy them pre-mixed. The pre-mixed, which is 50-50 mix, is about the same cost as the concentrate. So I went ahead and got the concentrate because it allowed me to do more with the same, the same amount. So and I've got some antifreeze left in case I need some in the future. So that's kind of where we are here in the front. Well, folks, I guess that's going to do it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed. Like, share, subscribe. Even if you don't like it, go ahead and hit the thumbs up, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.